Self-realization is, well, let's trace it back to what is that self? How did we get this ego? How did this floor become solid and this chair seem solid and the little part of it a little softer? How do the clouds seem so insubstantial and the ground so hard? All of this, God didn't have anything out of which to make creation. And so he had to make it out of his own consciousness. Everything he dreamed into existence. And that dream, first of all, was created in thought. It was not formed, it didn't have color. It was an ideational universe. All that exists was, first of all, an idea in the mind of the Creator. Then he vibrated that more grossly, and it took on the form of light and energy and color. And that was the astral universe. Then he took it further and gave it the appearance of solidity. And this solid matter, this is a wonderful thing about the age we're living in today, because even 100 years ago it would have been difficult to explain to anybody, although even 100 years ago they did know that matter is a vibration of energy. But now it's a fairly commonplace knowledge. And so we understand that everything is just vibration. Everything is just energy. You could have said this 200 years ago and people would have locked you up. They would have said, well, this is absolute nonsense. Now we know it's true. And I've pursued that thought further and said, well, how can it be true? Well, you know, if you see a tuning fork, it looks as if there's a certain solid substance between the two movements. Or if you see a propeller rotating, it looks like a solid disc if it's spinning fast enough. But it's not. And when the propeller stops, you see it's just 2 blades or 4 blades. And so everything, by the speed of its vibration, has the appearance of solidity. And so I put my finger on this solid wood and it won't go through. But that's because my finger is made of one vibration and the wood of another. And so gradually, the apparent miracles of saints come to be understood as not miraculous at all. That the miracle is just because they know things that we don't know. They know that matter is not anything but energy, and that energy is really only solid, liquid, fire, air, ether. It's just a combination of those various levels of manifestation. And so self-realization is discovering that this ego, God took on. God didn't create things the way you and I create things. We have to work from outside. If we're trying to create a statue, we carve it, and it looks like a human being. But in the case of, what was that sculptor who? No, I know perfect well. I can't think of it right now. An old Greek sculptor who sculpted a woman so beautiful, and he just prayed that it be given life, and Goddess Aphrodite gave her life. But that life had to come from inside. I just at the moment it doesn't come to mind.
Wasn't the lady Antigone?
Huh?
Wasn't the lady Antigone? Wasn't that when the woman, wasn't the name Antigone, the woman?
No.
Pygmalion was the...
No, anyway, it doesn't matter because the principle is there.
Right.
God only can create from inside out. He becomes a little seed. The seed grows and becomes a plant. You can't create a plant by making the seed, the leaves. That'll be just a lifeless statue. So God becomes everything because God is center everywhere, circumference nowhere. And so we need to understand that our ego is God in us. God became Zen, Bill, Kriyananda, Ali, all these different people. God became these things, and then this little seed of individuality begins to take shape. Because the amazing thing about this universe is that God gave every atom, as Yogananda put it, every atom is dowered with individuality. And so every single ego has this sense of being somehow itself. It's God in countless, countless forms. But then the trouble begins. The ego is put into a body. The body has to feed itself. The body has to gain pleasures for itself. And so gradually this ego accumulates a bundle of self-definitions. And that bundle is our separate ego, which makes me seem different from you and you. But I'm not different from you. I'm in you as much as in myself. My true self is God in me. Self-realization means realizing that you are not this ego, that you are not this bundle of self-definitions, that you are really, you have no definition. And the first experience of that state is nothingness, nirvana. But then in that nirvana comes the truth of it all, which is Ananda, ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. And the true state of every human being, of every ego, and of every atom is that infinite divine bliss. Self-realization means knowing that that bliss became you, but that that is your true reality.